Welcome back to App Stories. Today's episode is brought to you by Karo and Celtreos. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm having a good day. I'm having a really good day. You know what? Before we dive into a fun topic, a very app-related topic, I want to extend a very big thanks to everyone who has joined Club Mac Stories, because there was a real outpouring of people joining the club over the past couple of weeks after your review came out. And it's really nice to see both new people and people who maybe, who let their subscription lapse for a while and came back and are enjoying the club again. And we're really looking forward to it. I think for the two of us, I think I speak for both of us on this. It's kind of an energizing thing for us that we're really excited about it. And we've got a lot of fun things planned this fall. So we're going to look forward to that. And thanks again.
Thanks everybody. And now, like I said, now more than ever, given everything that is going on with ads and the ad market and just AI search results, having the support of members who directly support an independent publication, and obviously in return they get content, so to speak, but it's essential for us right now, and so we are extremely grateful. And speaking of members only content, we just had a fun pre-show segment for App Stories Plus subscribers. You can be an App Stories Plus subscriber just as a standalone subscription. Just get the Plus version of App Stories, which is longer, is ad-free, usually comes out a day earlier, and is also delivered in high bitrate audio, so you can really, really appreciate the sweet baritones of John's voice. But and also you can get App Stories Plus as part of Club Premier, which is like an all-inclusive subscription for club members that includes the newsletters and App Stories. But we just had a fun pre-show where, and I'll leave it at this, we pitched a new Apple product called iPods. And you may be confused, but you're just gonna have to listen to find out what I mean.
Yeah, and we also talked about an automation device, something that I've been playing around with. So yeah, it was a fun pre-show. But today for the main show, we're going to talk about some of the apps we've been using that incorporate iOS 18 or iPadOS 18 features, because there are a lot of them out there. There were fewer APIs that developers could take advantage of this year.
There is not a lot to go by this year.
Well, so what I'm saying is there's a bit of a theme to a lot of what we're going to talk about, because they are similar features in different apps. But I do think that the developers who have taken advantage of what is there have done a nice job with it. And I actually included one cheat app that I've been using and enjoy that doesn't take advantage of the main thing that we're going to be talking about, but I wanted to raise just because it's a fun app.
Okay, is it Paku? Because you keep mentioning Paku, and I'm just going to you go first, and now you pitch me again on why I need to download Paku, because you've been on me with this Paku app for months.
Yes,
and now here's the stage is yours to make your case.
Here's the thing, Federico. You live in a big city in Europe.
I do.
And you know what? Sometimes the air in that big city, as beautiful as Rome is not the cleanest. I've been there. Yes. It's true in any big city anywhere in the world, not just Rome. And Paku lets you know when the air is unhealthy for you to breathe. So maybe you're taking your dogs out and you see that the pollution levels are really high. And maybe you think, well, maybe I'll just wait an hour. Maybe I'll go after dinner instead of in the afternoon.
That's a good idea.
And so that's kind of what I use it for. It's probably less useful for me now in North Carolina because I don't live in the immediacy of a big city like I used to. Charlotte's still pretty big, but I'm pretty far out from downtown Charlotte. And the air is a lot cleaner here than it ever was in Chicago. But I still kind of like it. I'm kind of addicted to seeing those numbers. And I just have the widget on my home screen, and it cycles through every now and then, and I see what it's like. And there are days, sometimes like when there are those big wildfires up in Canada, the smoke filtered down all the way down the East Coast. And there were a couple of days where it wasn't healthy to be out doing a long walk or running or something like that outside. So I skipped that day. And so I do like having this. It does the thing that integrates this year with iOS 18. And this was the very first app that I had that had a control center control. And it's a very simple one. All it does is it toggles the app's live activity. But the live activity is really nice because it's one of those that just hangs out up there for as long as you have it toggled on. So as you go through your day, you can, and especially if you've got maybe, you're thinking about going outside and doing something later in the day, you can see it there up in the dynamic island, and it's a lot easier to trigger if you have the Control Center widget in there that you can just give a quick tap to.
Okay, so now I understand Paku finally.
Yep. And it helps too, I think, for me right now, is that there are a couple of these. It integrates with a network of air quality sensors, both ones run by people, like people just have them on their houses, and businesses, and other things like that. And there's a college near me, and they have a couple of them on campus, and it's so close that it might as well be in my backyard. So it's really nice that I kind of have that feeling like hyper local weather, like I know exactly what the air quality is in my neighborhood, because this sensor is like less than a half mile away.
Mm-hmm. Very nice, very nice.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Karo, a first of its kind social task manager with a focus on delegating tasks. The app is packed with powerful features behind an intuitive interface. Karo is set to change the way people send tasks and share to-do lists. It's perfect for people that rely on messaging apps to coordinate tasks with others. Best of all, if you send a task to someone, they receive it, whether or not they're using the app. This is really big and really powerful because you don't have to convince people in your life to sign up for another service or download another app. And Plus, it facilitates collaboration because sharing tasks, tracking progress, and working together in groups all happens naturally and organically. The app works with messages and WhatsApp and includes automatic reminders of tasks. Karo also integrates with Apple Reminders. Delegate your tasks from Apple Reminders in Karo, and they sync it back to Apple Reminders, preserving the convenience you enjoy with Apple Reminders and extending the functionality of the app to delegate those tasks. In addition, users get real-time updates to stay informed the instant the tasks are updated with notifications. Plus, they'll get personal reminders, allowing them to set up multiple manual reminders per task. And it's a productivity powerhouse. Karo works with shortcuts, app intents, widgets. It has action and share extensions, plus all the other latest Apple technologies. Karo is even cross-platform, working on both iOS and Android. And soon, later this fall, they'll be adding app clips, a watch app, and a Mac app. Just go to karo.bot to learn more today. And we have a special deal just for App Stories listeners. You can get 50% off an annual subscription by downloading the app, going to the settings screen, and then tapping on Redeem Offer Code and typing in Mac Stories. Again, download the app, go to the settings screen, tap on Redeem Offer Code, and use the code MACSTORIES to get 50% off an annual plan. Try Karo today. Just go to karo.bot to learn more and download the app. Our thanks to Karo for their support of the show.
I want to mention, let's see, I'm going to pick one from my list. I want to mention GoodLinks. Obviously,
Yes.
This is a Mac Stories favorite. I have still been unable to make a decision between Readwise Reader and GoodLinks. I'm still in that phase where it comes and goes. There's a week where I prefer Readwise Reader. There's another week where I prefer GoodLinks. I used Readwise Reader for the past month when I was finalizing the iOS review, and it was really useful, especially to collect a bunch of PDFs, articles, collect them all in one place, create a saved view for all that material. That was really useful. But obviously, when I saw the iOS 18 update to GoodLinks, I was intrigued again. So in iOS 18, obviously GoodLinks had a big 2.0 update earlier this year that you covered on Mac Stories that added highlights and the ability to take notes alongside those highlights. Really excellent update. In iOS 18, you can have controls for GoodLinks, which are basically very similar to the shortcuts actions, very similar to the widgets. because they're based on the same technology.
Right.
I just love the idea of having a little control that can open a specific list in GoodLinks or open an article from your read later queue at random. Just press a button and take me to an article at random from my queue that I can read. I think it's a really fun way to get some reading done without the pressure of scrolling what is usually a long list of articles that you saved from the web, and just like press a button in Control Center or on the lock screen if you want to put it there and open an article at random. I think that's really well done. And this is also part of a bigger, I guess, conversation that I want to have later on about GoodLinks. I've been thinking about it a lot again, and I think what I will end up doing and also writing about is turn GoodLinks, if my theory is correct, into the equivalent of reminders. And stay with me. The idea being that just like reminders or apps like Things, Things and reminders are very similar from that point of view. Just like reminders lets me automate, like actually create personal automations in shortcuts for all kinds of things that can happen in the background. I'm thinking of a similar system, but for GoodLinks, where I have personal automations that run in the background and sort of manage my queue for me. So like things like, I don't know, automatically tagging articles, automatically removing articles if they're old and have been sitting in my queue for too long, like and design a nice little system to apply all of these things in the background so that I can just worry about saving a link and the automations do the rest. So this is something that I'm thinking about.
I think that Readwise Reader would have its hooks deeper into you if they did a better job with their iOS and iPadOS apps. Especially the iPad, I find to be very buggy, and I don't know. It's not a native app. It's using some sort of cross-platform controls, and every OS update breaks something with that app.
Strong agree there. Sometimes the sidebar doesn't go away. It's all kinds of janky.
Or it ends up in the middle of the page.
It's up in the middle of the page. It's all kinds of janky. And and I'm also like, as I'm doing these first experiments with GoodLinks, I'm also thinking of maybe I should rethink my newsletter situation. And I just started doing this yesterday, so it's very fresh. But I started delivering all my newsletters to Feedbin again. I've tested both iNewsReader and Feedbin, and my impression is that Feedbin does a much better job at parsing newsletters and presenting them in like a slimmed down email view than iNewsReader. I think Feedbin does a really good job with newsletters. So instead of having those newsletters delivered to Readwise Reader, I can just have them delivered to Feedbin. And I created a newsletters tag or folder in Feedbin, so they all go there. And from there, I can save them to GoodLinks. Obviously, the issue sometimes with GoodLinks, and thankfully there's a solution. You can, if you're subscribed to a paywalled website, and if you just send the link, it doesn't get saved in its entirety because it's behind a paywall. Right. But one of the great features of GoodLinks is that in settings, you can beforehand you can log into those websites with your account. So when the app is going to save that link, say you're saving a link from Club Mac Stories, right? And you send it a link to Mac Stories Weekly. By default, GoodLinks is just going to save the excerpt of that link. It's just going to save the first paragraph or two of that issue of Mac Stories Weekly. However, if in GoodLinks settings, you log into, there's basically a mini web browser, and you log into club.macstories.net with your account, and you just close the browser, the next time you save a Club Mac Stories link, the app will parse it in its entirety because it'll sort of fake being you logged in and saving the text. And you can do this with all kinds of publications. You can do this with the New York Times. You can do this with Substack. You can do this with Platformer, with like Ghost-powered websites, Substack-powered websites, custom websites like Club Mac Stories. And so this is one of the other things why I prefer GoodLinks is that in addition to being native and automatable with shortcuts, it also has this integration with 4 paywalled websites. So yeah, but regarding iOS 18, it's got controls. So that's and the dark icon if you're into that.
Right, right. All right. For my next pick, I want to talk about Play by Marcos Tanaka
Oh,
because
that's a good one. Yeah.
it's so good. It's this app has come a long way, and I think that there is a lot of benefit from competition from other apps that are doing
Because
similar things.
I am using the competitor. I think Marcos. I think competition is great because when Unwatched came out, which is a very similar product, which is what I'm using at the moment, but I think that sort of pushed Marcos to add a lot of new features and integrations to Play, which is again competition. It works.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's great. And I'm still using Play. I have used Unwatched and I was very excited about it, but I've got a lot in Play already. And that's kind of kept me over there for the time being. And it's added, for instance, things like playback controls that you can watch everything directly in the app a little bit more seamlessly now than you used to be able to. It's got skip forward, skip back buttons for skipping, 10 seconds forward and back. It's got speed controls, which is nice. I know you watch like 1.25 or whatever it is.
1.3, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what I do.
1.3.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that. I don't do that.
I now listen to all my shows, all my podcasts. So podcasts,
Yeah.
1.4.
Oh my gosh.
Videos, I alternate between 1.2 and 1.3 because it can get, I get a little queasy almost when somebody's moving too fast because you're speeding up a video, right? And it looks weird.
Yeah, I can imagine. But in addition to those things, which aren't iOS 18 features, it did add the icon support for tinting and that sort of thing. And there are app shortcuts now, so you can, if you search for Play in Spotlight, for instance, you'll see a bunch of app shortcuts, as well as the app icon to open the app itself. So there's one, for instance, to follow a channel. It just opens a little text field, and you type in the name of the channel and hit go, and it'll subscribe you to that channel and play. Or you can tap on another button, and it'll show you like a handful of the most recent videos that you've saved. It's just a really nice touch that I've enjoyed using a lot. So yeah, I'm deep into Play, and I use it almost every evening when I, right before I go to bed. I tend to watch a little YouTube, and Play's the way I like to do that now.
Yeah. The new version is really, really good.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Celtreos, the shoot 'em up game with a tiny ship, big weapons, waves of foes, power-ups, and obstacles. Celtreos has no ads, no in-app purchase, no subscription, and nothing is locked. It's only for Apple platforms, and you can get it on your Mac, iPhone, iPad, and Apple TV. There are 13 stages, and you can start from any of them. Plus, you can resume play later if you quit the app. Celtreos is a lot of fun, and what I love about it is that it's an old-school video game that's been reimagined for mobile, making it easy to play in short sessions. And it can be customized a lot, too. You can configure your ship. There are dozens of abilities. The Mac has full-screen options. There's randomizing, and there's even a hard mode. Plus, there's a huge, high-quality soundtrack with over 45 minutes of music. It sounds fantastic. The game keeps expanding, too. There have been over 85 free updates to Celtreos so far, and the entire thing was made by one independent developer. You can play solo or grab a friend for a two-player mode, too. And the Mac version supports all kinds of inputs, and you can grab a controller if you're on iOS, too. If you love traditional shoot-'em-ups and you just want a quality game that's fun to play again and again with none of the usual annoyances that other games have, Celtreos is for you. The Mac version is on Steam with a free demo, and the iOS and tvOS versions are on the App Store. Go to kevingrant.name/apps now to learn more, or click on the link in the show notes to let them know that you came from this show. Again, that's kevingrant.name/apps, or click the link in the show notes. Our thanks to Celtreos for their support of App Stories.
We have a joint pick.
We do.
We have Shareshot.
Yep.
Now, over the years, so I want to say a couple of things. First, this is an app that lets you frame screenshots. And you may say, but Ticci, framing screenshots, don't you have Apple Frames? So I need to take you on a bit of a detour for like a minute.
Okay.
I have been working on this massive Apple Frames update. So the short version is I'm working on it. There's going to be an update that supports the M4 iPads, which is the thing I've been struggling with, and all of the new iPhones and all of the new Apple Watches. So I'm working on it. I know that people are waiting for it. I'm on it. And Silvia is also on it. The reason why I haven't updated it is that for whatever reason, I discovered this bug in iPadOS 18, where if I overlay a screenshot on top of a frame, a device frame, that has alpha transparency around it, because it's a PNG,
right?
If that screenshot needs to be resized, stay with me, when it gets overlaid, the alpha transparency goes away, and the composite image gets a black background.
Turns into a JPEG.
I have no idea why. But anyway, it's one.
There's
of the
a long-standing
bugs.
thing and I'm trying to think about this a little bit because I know I'm so good at working around it now. I forget the exact circumstances, but when you do take screenshots, if you used Apple Frames, then you edit them in a certain way, you can end up with those black backgrounds too. And that's always been there. It sounds like that has been incorporated now into shortcuts, right? Interesting.
But yeah. So anyway, we have found a solution, but it's taking us a bit longer than expected, so we're working on it. Shareshot, I want to mention because regardless of Apple Frames, Apple Frames is a shortcut, and there's only so much you can do with the shortcut. There's many other features that are only possible if you're building a native app. And so of all the apps over the years, and I can just say this confidently because I know my image assets, of all the apps that have ripped off Apple Frames over the years, this one is not a rip-off. This one is good. This one is great.
It's the real deal. It's an amazing.
This one is the real deal, made by someone who obviously understands the need for framing screenshots, and not just framing screenshots, but like creating nice-looking images with backgrounds, with gradients, with. This is something that I used extensively in my iOS 18 review. Frame a single iPhone screenshot, which always looks weird if you do that with Apple Frames because you just get a tall rectangle, basically.
Right.
But with Shareshot, you can put the framed iPhone in the middle, and you can make an image that is, a widescreen image with a background that is a gradient, and the colors of the gradient are extracted intelligently from the key colors of the screenshot. And the result is something that looks really harmonious and really nice looking. So, and there's so many other like quality of life touches in Shareshot. Like when you open the app, if you just took a screenshot, the app detects that you just took a new screenshot and asks you, do you want to replace this screenshot with the one that you just took? And so like I've been able to save so much time for my iOS and iPadOS 18 review, and and as a result, also have a much better looking product thanks to Shareshot. So yeah, shout out to Shareshot. It's an incredible utility, very niche one, but also very, very good.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing, I think. And there's a bunch of other gradients that are just built-in ones that are in the app as well. And I know that that Mark Palmer, who works on this, has a lot of plans for the future, including working on multiple framed shots in one image, which is something that I specifically asked for the minute I used it, because that's just something that we do a lot, and it would make it useful in more circumstances. But I used it in my macOS review too, and it does incorporate iOS 18 features in that there is a control center widget that instead of opening the app and getting what Federico just explained about where the last screenshot you took is offered as one you can create with Shareshot, you can just hit the button in the control center and do the exact same thing, which I think is handy, especially since, I think you explained this on Connected this week, Federico, but it's worth mentioning to people coming in 18.1 that there's a new action in shortcuts that lets you toggle, open, or close the control center. And I've already assigned a one action shortcut to my action button so that I can toggle the control center right away, which makes it so much easier to use. Much better,
easier.
Let me follow up this one, Federico,
Okay.
because I want to mention SwitchBuddy.
Ah,
And
yes.
there's an integration here because one of the things that Shareshot just added, in addition to doing iPhone, iPad, watch, Mac frames, it also does frames for the Switch
Ah, that's cool.
as well as the Play Date. And SwitchBuddy is an app that lets you, take screenshots and pull them off of it. Does a bunch of other stuff, but pull those screenshots off of your Switch and onto your iPhone. And with this, you can kind of combine the two things because there is a control center widget that lets you transfer those screenshots from your Switch to your iPhone, and then you can use them in Shareshot. So it's a great combination.
Nice. Very nice. I have just two more, and I can get through these very quickly. The first one is ControlMark. This one lets you add basically bookmarks to Control Center. So the idea being that you can take a website that you frequently visit and you can turn it into a control. And you can put that control in Control Center or on the lock screen. So if you want to put macstories.net at the bottom of your lock screen.
Hey, who wouldn't want to do that?
Who wouldn't want to do that, right? You can do that with ControlMark. And it's, I believe, like $2 on the App Store. And this is like that kind of utility that is only possible because of a new developer technology. Right. And it's like, it's a fun idea. Who doesn't love bookmarks, So you should put Mac Stories or any other good website in Control Center for easy access.
I'd make 6 or 7 of these myself and sprinkle them all over my device.
Yeah, it's a good number. I also want to mention my last one is Remind Me Faster.
Yeah, great app.
This has been around for a long time by indie developer Nick Leith. Remind Me Faster is basically, think about it this way. It's like quick entry, but for reminders. It's like literally the only thing that the app does is, it allows you to create reminders faster. So you have presets for dates, times, priorities. There's a new switcher menu in the latest version of 5.2, I believe, of the app, so the app opens and it's just a keyboard, right, and a text field. But there's a new gesture that you can do. If you swipe down just above the keyboard, you can quickly switch between your reminders lists.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's very convenient to, instead of previously you had to tap and it opens a list of your lists and you gotta pick one. Now you can just scroll through and it's very convenient. In iOS 18, what you can do is you can create controls for Remind Me Faster that open the app but pre-fill some of the details for you. So for example, you can create a control that takes you to Remind Me Faster, but it's already set to your work list. And you can create another that it's already set to the shopping list and so forth. So you can create all these controls. You can give them a custom icon. And so that they are easily recognizable in Control Center.
Sure.
And they can be configured just like widgets because, again, the technology is the same. So you add the control, you long press on it, you configure the back of the control panel, and that's it. So this idea of creating shortcuts for reminders entry, I think it's really fascinating. And you can do that with Control Center now. Or you can, even if you want to get fancy, you can do things like, come up with a way to tie the action button to one of your focus modes. And so you could do, for example, when I press the action button and I'm in my work focus, I want to create a reminder, Remind Me Faster with my work list. But when I'm home and I'm in my home focus or my family focus mode, I want to press the action button and it takes me to Remind Me Faster, but in my personal reminders list, something like that. So tons of flexibility and just an excellent utility for reminders. Reminders power users, I guess, is now a thing.
Yeah, they also recently added shortcut support, I know. Have you done much with that yet?
Not yet. I've just used the controls, but now you have all these options, right? The only thing about Remind Me Faster, and this is not the developer's fault, this is Apple's fault. They do not have access to modern reminders features like tags or rich links because Reminders doesn't really have an API. It's kind of crazy. Reminders doesn't have an API. It's still built on top of the old EventKit framework, which is what powers the calendar app. Apple should, eventually I really hope that Apple can make a proper reminders kit or just a reminders API for developers to say, we want to build different experiences on top of the excellent reminders foundation. So I hope that eventually comes, especially now that reminders feels like such a mature product. I feel like extending it to third-party developers is an obvious next step.
Yeah, I think the other thing, as long as we're casting wishes for Apple, I would love to see more shortcut actions for reminders and for notes. I know that we saw for a little bit during the beta period for 18, we did see some new actions for reminders. So maybe those will show up at some point during this cycle of betas, but they're not in 18.1. And so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Maybe they'll come later. The one that I would love is a shortcuts action for a quick note.
Isn't there one? Well,
Maybe there's a roundabout way of doing it by just saving it to the folder. Would that be how you'd do it?
There is an action, but it just opens quick note.
That's what I thought. Yeah, it doesn't actually create them or append to them or anything like that.
No.
Right.
That integration would make a lot more sense. One of my this is a very particular thing about quick note. Okay, so here's my thing about quick notes. For the past few years, I've wanted to build the equivalent of like Readwise Reader, but in Safari. So my idea was, one of the great features of Quick Note is that when you highlight something in Safari, you can save a special deep link to that highlight in Quick Note. The next time, then you close Quick Note and you go on about your life. But what's great is that the next time you bump into that web page, there's going to be a little pop-up in the bottom corner of the screen that tells you, hey, you actually highlighted something on this web page some time ago. So that when you reopen it, you can see all of your highlights. That's a special type of deep link that only works with Apple's Notes app and Quick Note. However, I was like, okay, this is great. I'm going to build a highlighting system with shortcuts and Quick Note and Safari.
Right.
But there's a problem. That feature that reminds you that there's a highlight that you previously took on a web page, it stops working if you move the note out of the Quick Notes folder.
Oh,
and it breaks my heart because I don't want to build an archive of highlights in the Quick Notes folder where I save my scratchpad stuff. But if you move that note with the special deep link into, I don't know, a folder, the quote unquote discovery feature stops working.
I wonder why that is. If that's a technical limitation of because there's an open web spec for this, I think, for the web part of it, not the Quick Note part.
I don't think it's. I know what you mean. I don't think it's actually based on the web fragments.
Oh,
API.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think it's a special notes integration.
Oh, interesting.
That creates this rich link that has a part of the selection, a part of the selected text is like part of the link card design. I don't understand why it stops working if you move the Quick Note out of the main.
They don't they don't redirect it. I mean, that's interesting. Well, let me finish up.
Do you have anything else? Okay,
I do. I want to mention Ticci Tabs because Ticci Tabs it doesn't have any control center controls, which is one of the things I do hope that we get. Now you could probably do something similar with ControlMark, I suppose, right? But Ticci Tabs is just a simple way of, as you put it, reading your 6 or 7 favorite websites. And I've got 4 or 5 for me right now in Ticci Tabs. And I got away from using it for a little while during the review season because I was just too busy to really do that. But the other night I sat down and I opened the app up and it was just really nice given that, like my RSS reader is full of unread stuff and, I'm just behind on reader and everything, but I can open up Ticci Tabs and it's a very manageable set of websites that don't publish dozens of things a day. And so I can go through there, catch up on the handful of things on each site that I've missed over the past couple of weeks, and get caught up pretty easily. And I've really kind of appreciated that reading experience. It's been really nice.
It's a great app. It's got my name in it.
It's got the right name, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's a perfect name for the app. All right, Federico. Well, that's it for this week's episode of App Stories. Thanks again to Karo and Celtreos for sponsoring this episode. We will be back in another week with another episode. In the meantime, you can find us on macstories.net. You should also check out our YouTube channel because you know what? We're doing lots of stuff over there now. It's not just podcasts. I did a video this week. We'll have more stuff coming soon, hopefully. So go over there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Plus, you can find us on social media. We are on Mastodon. Just go to vitici.macstories.net and johnvorhees.macstories.net to follow us there. And we're on Threads and Instagram. Federico is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.